What's going on, Gifted Hands family? We're back with another lesson. And in this lesson, we're taking this John Paul McGee approach to In the Midst of It All. And we already did a note-by-note breakdown, kind of a transcription, walking you through every single note that he played in that video. But in this lesson, I'm gonna take some concepts from that video. We're gonna talk about the concepts. We're gonna talk about where in that video, in his video, his approach, where he used them, and then how we can pull those out of this song and apply them to other songs and other parts of our plan, all right? So let's dive into it. The first concept that we're gonna take from this video is going to be rootless chord voicings and voice leadings. So I put these two together because they're different concepts. Rootless chords is one approach or one kind of theory application that you can apply to chords, right? And then voice leadings is something separate, but they're used very closely together. He's using rootless chords to create some beautiful voice leadings in this song, okay? So we're gonna look at these as kind of a combined concept, all right? So let's walk through the approach. From the very top, we have like, it's like a 2, 5, 1, right? So we got like a 2, 5, 1, and we're using, from the very beginning, using rootless chord voicings. Now, technically, he hits the 5, he hits the root note before going into the chords to kind of set the foundation, right? So 5, and then we got either the 2 over 5 or like a 5 sus to a 5 dominant to a 1, right? And then we echo that root note, the 5 on top. So we got rootless chord voicings where this is our rootless 2, our rootless B flat, right? 7th, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th. So we got an extended, like a B flat minor 9. Then we got, this goes down to G. This goes, actually that stays, this note stays. This F is gonna go down, it's gonna follow, right? So we got, and then these two notes are gonna go up. So here's our 2, then we're gonna go up, or we're gonna move each of these chords, and as you see, nothing moves by more than a half step. All the notes in this chord, the notes that move, they only go up or down by a half step. And then to the 1, we got, this goes down, this goes up, this goes up, this goes up by a whole step. Okay, so what are voice leadings? Voice leadings are when we take a chord progression, a chord voicing, and we have the chords move in a way to where there's melodies created from our chords changing, essentially, right? So this is a 2. That's kind of like a melody that's built into these chord changes, into this 2, 5, 1. That's the lowest note in our chord voicing. That creates kind of like a melody. So with the second note of this chord as well, starting on this D flat, we have, right? Oops. All right, that's what our second note is doing. Let's see, what about this F? This F is doing, right? And let's look at the other notes. So that's walking up. And then that top note, that's the melody of the song. I've been through many hard trials, right? So, so the voice leadings essentially just kind of is describing how each individual chord tone moves as you're going from chord to chord. I think it sounds best, voice leadings sound best, and you get more of a jazzy feel to your chords and to your changes when you have minimal movements from chord to chord. So like, just in this example, we're not moving anything more than a whole step. No notes jump by more than a whole step, right? More than 2 semitones or 2 half steps. Versus if we're doing or if we did we could do that too. And granted, that doesn't sound bad. Like there's situations where we might want to do something like this. We might want to play our progressions like that. It may call for it. Sometimes when you're comping or, yeah, it just depends on the approach. You might want to switch it up, but you need to have the ability and you should practice being able to, when it comes to 2-5-1s, even like when you really start getting comfortable with jazz approaches to 2-5-1s, that's one of the first things you want to practice is how do I get from chord to chord with minimal movement? Now, that's definitely something to practice, is your voice leadings and also your rootless chord voicing. Okay, so that's one example where we're using rootless chord voicing. Let's keep going through this approach and see where else we can find this stuff at. All right, here we go. We don't have to go far. Literally the next chord progression, which is like it's like a 6 chord, an F dominant to the 2. Okay, but he's not doing da, 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 or not doing jumping from here to here. It's which is going kind of playing like a F suspended, right? F suspended to F dominant. So here we're keeping these inner 2 notes, right? Which is like the root and the flat 9 of F. And we're just moving the outer notes, the highest note and the lowest note. Just creating a nice voice leading. We have some like parallel motion. Both of those melody notes are going down. And then we jump. And that's like a 2 chord. Okay? So something else that goes along with these rootless chord voicings and the voice leadings that we're talking about are the use of inverted chords, okay? So there's a movement in here where we do just that much. So here we kind of like have I look at that as like an A flat augmented chord. And then I'm kind of thinking of this as like a 5 or like 2 half diminished. So 1, 2, 1, pretty much. But you can't really tell that that's what that progression is, 1, 2, 1, because it's kind of open. This is really what I think I played in the playthrough. So this is my 1 chord, but it looks like a C chord. Right, so, and then here's my like half diminished chord, but it's rootless, and And then here's like a 1/5, okay? And once again, these chord voicings are very open, very abstract. We're not just outlining the notes of the chord, 1, 3, 5, 7. Everything's kind of broken up. The chord tones are split between your right hand and your left hand. And so it's gonna give you a more open sound, and it's gonna give you kind of a more abstract sound. I love it though, it's beautiful. So 1, 2, 1. And then we got, this is a 1 again. It's just inverted. It's like A flat major, just inverted. 6, 2, to the 5, okay? So he uses chord inversions as well in this approach to open up a lot of the chord voicings and to make them sound more complex, all right? So instead of playing in even just a basic 1 chord, instead of playing in a root position, you can move it around. So here, this is a way you can play an A flat major chord, right? It's like, oh wait, this don't look like A flat. This looks like E flat, if anything to me. This looks like an E flat chord. And this looks like a C minor chord. It looks like an inverted C minor. But if I put E flat and C minor together, I'm really trying to play like an A flat major chord, because this is the 7th, 3rd, 5th, 9th, 3rd, 5th, 7th. All right, or we could even do. We could even play that. Okay. All right, so the next place that you're gonna hear some rootless chord voicings will be on this move right here. So here we got it's like a drop 2 progression, and then we're playing a 6 chord, and then F dominant. But we play it rootless. So it's a tritone. A lot of times when you have a dominant chord and you're playing it rootless, you're gonna play the tritone in your left. Your right hand can play a triad, some type of triad. It could be a major triad, a minor triad, a half diminished, an augmented triad, and it's gonna give you some alterations or extensions. So this is our F dominant, and then this is also an F dominant. So we went from a D minor triad to a B minor triad in the right. And that gives us, this first triad gives us the 3rd, 13th, and the root. The second triad gives us the flat 9, the sharp 11, and the 13. So different color to the 2. All right, so I like that move right there. So I'm even thinking, let's say we wanted to play Amazing Grace. We wanted to play Amazing Grace. I think I could add that to Amazing Grace. Anything with a 5-1 movement. There we go. So, what I pulled from this F dominant chord, right, is that we're playing a minor triad based off of the 6 and based off of the sharp 11. So 6 and sharp 11. I'm pulling those minor triads from. So I can add that, I can apply that move on any dominant chord. So when I'm thinking about Amazing Grace, I'm thinking when I get to the 5, normally I have a dominant chord. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound, it saved a wretch like me. So when I get to that 5, it's an E flat dominant. I'll play a minor triad based off of the 6. And then I'm gonna walk that down to a minor triad based off of the 1, 2, 3, 4, sharp 4, AKA the sharp 11. So in context, amazing grace, how sweet the sound. Da, da. Now I'm just making a melody line out of it. Because we talked about voice leading, so I don't think da 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 sounds good to me. I just don't like that. Da ba ba da da da. It sounds kind of herky jerky. Sounds like it's jumping around too much. Like da da is already a big jump. That's a minor third. So if I'm gonna move a minor third, I want to resolve somewhere that's less than a minor third, a jump off a minor third. So I would do ba da da, cause da da. That's movements of half steps and whole steps only. Those are closer movements. So, all right. So that's one way that we could apply that movement. So it's like, as we're walking through this, what you want to do is pull out the concepts. You don't want to just look at note for note. All right, this is what he played. I can play that, and like just mimic it note for note. I'm trying to understand, and you should try to understand, what is it that made these movements and these progressions sound the way that they sound, and how can I recreate it?